Hello and welcome aboard to this episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to following the entire story of One Piece from beginning to end as we focus on one volume each episode. We keep the discussion spoiler-free for new fans of the series, so this is the perfect place to follow along whether you're new to the series or you just want to revisit the world of One Piece with us. This week we will be covering Volume 9, Tears, which covers chapters 72 through 81. My name is Joel, and I'll be your host. Joining me today, we have Sean.
Hello, this is Sean.
And we have Evan.
Hello.
Yeah, so this is one I think we're all excited for. We are finally getting into Arlong Park. So let's get a quick recap from last volume. Luffy defeated Krieg and paid off his debt as Shore Boy for the Bratier. Zeff and the Cooks convinced Sanji to follow his dream, so he agrees to join Luffy's crew. Yosaku had tracked down where Nami brought the Merry, Arlong Park. Zoro, Usopp, and Johnny have arrived at Arlong Park and have located the Merry, but discovered that this area is under the control of the powerful fishman, Arlong. Zoro has been taken captive by the fishmen while Usopp encounters Nojiko, who explains that she is Nami's stepsister. Zoro finds Nami at Arlong Park, but reveals that she is a member of Arlong's pirate crew. Arlong heads into the village to quell a potential rebellion, while Nami secretly sets Zoro free. So before we get into the chapter, let's start off with the cover story, Buggy's Crew After the Battle Part 25, The Mysterious Figures in the East. Richie and the rest of Buggy's crew celebrate that they have been saved from being eaten as their saviors look on from a distance. Things are looking pretty dire for them, but things are turning now.
They're cresting a new horizon.
Yes, hope on the horizon.
The important thing is that Richie's safe.
Exactly.
Okay, so chapter 72, Proper Living. Usopp is shocked to hear that Arlong plans to turn the East Blue into his own country. Arlong threatens to kill Genzo for the crime of owning weapons to make an example of him. Nojiko intervenes, pointing out that they have cooperated for 8 years, so why would they rebel now? Arlong threatens to wipe out the whole town if any one of the villagers attacks any of the fishmen. Genzo urges the rest of the villagers to fight by surviving, not to throw their lives away. Arlong agrees with Genzo's words, but beats him to further prove his superiority over the humans. Just as Arlong seems that he is about to finish Genzo off, Usopp shoots an exploding star right at Arlong. Usopp bravely announces himself, warning Arlong that he's backed by 8,000 men. Arlong does not care how many men he has. Now furious, Arlong grabs a building and throws it right at Usopp. Usopp manages to run away in time, though. Now that Arlong has his eyes set on the new target, the fishmen decide to leave Cocoa Village in pursuit of their attacker. After the commotion, Nami walks into town to check in on the village. She is greeted by a warm welcome as all the villagers head inside and slam their doors. Nami visits a grave and says she only has 7 million more berries to go in order to buy the village for the 100 million Arlong agreed upon. Over at Arlong Park, instead of running away, Zoro defeated all of Arlong's men. He could just leave, but he promised Luffy that he would get Nami back. All right, who wants to start off on this one?
We open up with a grade A Usopp face, like just S, like A. I say S tier. Let's just. There's an entire universe within his tongue, like, and it's just like. You will gaze into that abyss and never return.
You can get lost staring into his mouth.
Truly, it's entrancing. But I mean, this is a really, it's a very depressing chapter at first. Before, I mean, Usopp steps up. Like, what can you say? Like,
in Usopp fashion,
and very Usopp
Exactly.
fashion. But I mean, he does something. Yeah, he runs after, but I mean,
he has that
he has
a moment of heroism where he takes the shot and stands up and plays his bluff, and then as soon as his bluff is read, he then like runs away like a coward. Like he just like totally flips the plan, but you gotta admire it, and it works. It works.
It does work. Even before that, though, I gotta give I gotta give some credit to my homie Genzo, Captain Scars. Like, yep, they're gonna kill me, but just don't fuck it up now, guys. Just please don't. Like, it's all right, it's all good. We just gotta keep on going. Like, it's like, oh, that is dark. But thankfully Usopp saves the day.
Yeah, and like you said, in true Usopp fashion, I like how you can see when he's staying there, his knees are buckling.
Yes, just
Yeah.
shake. Clack, clack, like his bones are rattling against each other. It's so much.
Yeah. Then he goes back to his tried and true 8,000 men behind him.
Yes.
I mean, it hasn't worked so far, but keep trying, Usopp.
I want him to raise the number. Like, I mean, it just double down, Usopp. Like 10,000 men, 15,000 men. Like, there's no reason he can't be.
No,
I mean,
he
he is
needs
the
to go
great
down.
Captain Usopp. Yeah.
Yeah, let's say I got 50 men behind me. Maybe start with that, you know.
Yeah, maybe starts okay.
Or 80.
I
if you go 80.
have 5 men behind me. 2 of them have broken legs. 1 of them is missing an eye. But we're pirates. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, but we also have, like you were saying, Genzo taking one for the team. Being a good leader. He's looking out for the best of his people. It's not a good situation that they're in, and we can kind of get a better idea of their circumstances here. So they are clearly being oppressed by the fishmen, and even when they're, relatively cooperating here, I mean, they're not actively like trying to fight him. He's still throwing his weight around and brutally attacking Genzo. So he's ready to kill this guy, and then Usopp does show up to save the day.
You imagine that even if Genzo wasn't like stockpiling a handful of swords or something or whatever the hell Arlong is accusing him of, like Arlong is just looking for a reason to cause trouble at this point.
Exactly.
Like Genzo could have a bag of chopsticks in the back of his room for eating food or something. Genzo and Arlong would be like, "What's this? Evil stabbing weapons? How
Would
dare
you make
you?
sushi out of us?"
You're really taking. Oh, you're gonna pay for this. Like so. It's just like this is something he does on Sundays for fun. He just goes to the village and torments some people.
Yeah, I think this is an introduction to Arlong for sure. This is the first time we see like his ruthlessness and his just brute strength. He literally just like picks up a house at one point.
Yeah.
By himself.
So yeah, kind of like how we saw like in like the last volume, how all the houses were flipped upside down.
Yep.
Well,
so the fishmen, they're very, very capable of lifting up these houses.
So this one he not placed down with as much pristine care as seemingly the other ones were. Understandable in the circumstances. But yeah, I like that. Like it works because he decides not to kill Genzo because now he's got bigger fish to fry. Like Genzo didn't actually try to hit him, so now he's really pissed. So yeah, it works out. And then Nami's reintroduction, where it's just like, yeah, everybody doesn't like you, Nami, like, or there's some kind of, something. They just don't. They're just like, we're just gonna let you go and do what you need to do, demon lady, and we are gonna go home and try not to think about how awful her lives are for a day.
Yeah,
that's rough.
So they obviously, they have something against Nami. So we don't get the full details here, but Nami did something too.
Nojiko says the whole town hates her, which
she definitely got the cold shoulder.
I can't think of any evidence to the contrary exactly at this point. So
we do get the reveal of what Nami's goal has been. So she's been saving up the berries to buy the village from Arlong. So she currently has only 7 million berries to go. So she's almost at the 100 million.
And she's
we see her visiting
the
gravesite as well. So these are all key details. I'm sorry, Evan, you were saying?
No, I was just saying that she's alluded to wanting to buy a village. But here we get it, very black and white that she has to raise X amount to get this particular village.
Right. Yeah. So back in the Orangetown arc with Buggy and the Buggy arc,
right?
That's when she said she wanted to buy a certain village, and now we found that certain village.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we end on this badass shot of Zoro.
Zoro just chilling.
Zoro being Zoro.
Jorn just wasting away in Margaritaville over there, like.
Yeah, he was supposed to run away, but he did something very much different.
Yeah.
And just attacked like all of Arlong Park over here.
You think he just got lost, like. But I mean, I'm excited to see what he decides to do. Maybe probably do a little bit more than Usopp, but I don't want. This is Usopp's chapter. I'm going to give him the credits.
Yeah.
He had a moment to shine.
He had a moment to shine.
Any other thoughts before we move on from this chapter?
I mean, I think it's just from one chapter alone. It's abundantly clear Arlong is a freight train above everything we faced so far. Like picking up a house like that, it's just like, oh, okay. You thought you were fighting some tough stuff until now, like Krieg and all his gadgets. Krieg and all his gadgets aren't shit compared to this guy.
Yeah, this is true strength right here.
Arlong is where you know what gadgets Arlong has on? A Hawaiian shirt and some trunks. Like he doesn't have a fancy armor to boost his strength or something, or a gas cannon. He's just got his own body, and that's all he needs.
Yeah, and he's very confident in like his power right here. He's very much in control of the situation, and he knows it, and he is making sure everybody else knows it too. Yeah, like just the way he's holding up Genzo.
That's the classic tyrant.
So like you can see like how big he is compared to Genzo.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very confident, and he's speaking down to humans as a race because being a fish person, he's very proud of that and definitely thinks that they are a superior race.
I mean, I'm not going to name names, but you can trace what he's saying back to some IRL stuff real easy. And it's fucking gross. But I mean, it works for establishing just how much of a monster he is.
Yeah, just adds an extra layer of like him being like a bad guy. So I think that really shows what kind of villain he is.
Yeah.
All right, but how about we move on to the next part of the cover story? Buggy's crew after the battle, part 26. Sorry to keep you waiting. The Buggy pirate savior is none other than Captain Buggy himself, now triumphantly restored to his full body. Sorry, Evan. I know you can looking forward to see more little Buggy action.
Doom! Buggy's back.
But he's back with the
He got his torso.
He got his torso back. We'll always remember the days of Buggy Limbs McGee, but
I know he almost looks so weird. He's reassembled. I'm so used to little.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think he was still like
that? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
You think he was still like touched that his crew buried his torso, or was he just like, "What are you doing? Get it out of there!"
Like, how could you think I would die? Like,
how could you imagine such a thing? I am the Great Buggy. Yeah,
but yeah, I was just gonna say like the way that the panel was framed, it does also make Buggy look longer. So I think that was like kind of intentional.
Yeah,
he's very much like at the forefront, and we can see like from the angle. Yeah, it makes him look a little longer.
For sure.
And the whole crew's there. He's got his right-hand man and his left-hand man.
And his mysterious woman.
Mysterious woman. I don't know the identity of.
All right. Chapter 73, Monsters of the Grand Line. Hachi is fishing outside the gates of Arlong Park in order to feed their pet, Momu. Hachi calls to announce it's feeding time, but Momu doesn't show up. Zoro casually goes to see what the noise was, and finds Hachi. Hachi mistakes Zoro as a guest from the Navy and tells Zoro that Arlong is out chasing after a long-nosed person. Zoro realizes that this must be Usopp, so he asks how to get to Cocoa Village. Hachi happily offers to ferry Zoro over there for him. Good thing, otherwise Zoro would never be able to find it. Over on the boat, with Luffy, Sanji, and Yosaku, they encounter Momu, the giant sea cow. Yosaku is surprised to find one in the East Blue, as this creature is only found on the Grand Line. In order to defend their food, Luffy attacks a giant sea cow. Sanji thinks it must be hungry, so he feels he should feed it, but then kicks it away after thinking it was about to eat him instead. They successfully hold off the sea cow inside to eat. Arlong has returned to his park to find that all of his men have been defeated. A survivor tells him that it was the work of pirate hunter Zoro, and they realize that he was the one that they captured. Chu has returned with the now captured Usopp, who sees the aftermath of Zoro's escape. The fishmen begin to doubt Nami, who happens to return at this moment. She defends her loyalty to Arlong, telling them that she's come this far and would do anything to risk ruining their deal. Arlong accepts this and apologizes for doubting his officer. He decides to have Usopp executed. Zoro arrives in town too late to find out that Usopp is already gone, while Luffy's boat has tamed the sea cow to tow their boat faster. All right, thoughts on this one?
Is it a sea cow or a sea hippo? Let's be clear.
Evan is very specific about the species identification here.
It depends on if you ask Luffy or not.
Yeah.
This was a fun chapter. The sea cow battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, Sanji just on a dime. Here, would you like some food? How dare you? Like, just within the span of like a millisecond, I feel like he was just like, he changed his mind.
Yeah, it's like that made clear if like it was actually going to try to eat him. I think it probably wasn't. But then like Sanji just overreacted and just like
I feel like it probably didn't intend to, but the size of its mouth, like there was a danger. I'll admit that he kind of it might have just getting caught up in the process. But Sanji could have just jumped back, but no, he's got to be a jerk about it. Yeah, I mean he looks angry there.
Really hard to not take at least a limb.
Yeah, it's a dangerous situation, no doubt about it.
That was a funny scene though. Sanji's attack, the collier coup.
Yes.
Which they define as collier being a French word for neck meat.
Neck meat, yep.
So he's got the neck meat attack, which he lands successfully on the sea cow.
Yeah, so we get a little peek at his kind of naming conventions for his attacks.
Yeah, Sanji loves his French. That I'm sure there's, they'll go to France Island eventually.
He'll be in his element there.
He certainly will. I want to point out how Hachi, now it might have been because Hachi naturally assumes that he makes the assumption that Zoro is part of like the Navy group or something, but it's kind of amazing the level of just kindness he shows to Zoro. Just like, oh, you need a ride? Yeah, sure. Just hop in, buddy. Like he doesn't call him like a dirty human or anything. I don't think. Like, he's just like, hey, how's it going on? I'm a cuddly octopus fish man, but you look human. and then Zoro just goes with like, you a Navy man? And Zoro just goes like, yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, let's say yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, that's a good point though. Different attitude than Arlong.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hachi, a little gullible, but it seems like he means well.
You almost wonder like, is this nature nurture here maybe? But
yeah,
we'll see. Yeah, and I love that his just has a giant pot is his like way of getting around or something. Good stuff.
And then like the timing, just like the way that like they keep like going like back and forth. So, like Zoro's not going to the village and Usopp is going this way. So it's just kind of like very bad timing on how that's playing out.
Yeah, he even tells him to have a nice day after he drops him off. Don't mention it. Have a nice day. Bye. You feel like and even Zoro's confused. Like, man, he's a nice guy. Okay, what a strange fish man.
And I like how he uses his mouth as like a trumpet to call Momo for dinner. That's a nice.
Oh yeah. And he's holding like 4 fishing lines.
Yeah.
Out there.
So I was like, what's going on with the trumpet over there? I better check it out. But I guess Hachi wasn't really paying attention to like all the noise going on in the background for the battle. It was just like naturally noisy all the time, then it gets like really quiet. So yeah, I'm not sure how he missed that one, but
classic Zoro.
Yeah.
Nami's left with a scary situation here at the end though, with like, oh yeah, okay, we trust you. Now let's just murder this guy. You're cool with that, right, Nami? It almost feels like there's an implication. Like,
Yep, Nami's in a pickle.
We'll see what side of the pickle she decides to snap off. I don't know that metaphor. I try these metaphors, guys, and they rarely succeed, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying.
And I wouldn't want you to. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah, so Nami's trying to toe both lines here. So like she doesn't want like, you know, these people to get like killed like needlessly. You know, so I mean it seems like she does have a heart, and she's not just like letting them, because we saw like with the like back in the buggy arc too.
Yeah.
Like she decided to step up and try to save Luffy, even though she like initially was trying to turn him in and was gonna like let him take the fall.
I mean,
And she kind of had a conscience about it. So
considering her goal, yeah, like of getting the money, Luffy wasn't super valuable, but he'd probably fetch a couple thousand berries at least. Or yeah, so yeah, I don't know. This is a multifaceted woman.
Yeah. And with the reaction, with the 4 exclamation points, you know, I feel like she's confounded. She like hasn't made up her mind. She's stressed about the situation, at least.
yeah,
No doubt.
then Usopp as well is stressed out about the situation
For slightly different reasons, but yeah.
When is Usopp
he like
not stressed?
yeah, he like can't decide like what his excuse should be, so he's trying both of them. So he's like oh, I'm not with Zoro, or like, no, I am with Zoro, but if you know, if you kill me, then Zoro will never come here. So like, yeah.
Whatever works. He's pulling the Benny from the mummy tactic of just whatever works at the moment.
Yeah, and then Usopp just like every panel, like Usopp just has like an amazing face. Like every reaction he has is just like just as amazing as like the one before. So like he's like really like playing with the Usopp a lot. So it seems like he's having a lot of fun with the Usopp's reactions.
Yeah,
He's so emotive.
I almost like, even if I didn't like Usopp as a character, and I grew to like him more, but like I never didn't appreciate his facial reactions. Like he's worth it for that alone.
And there's moments when he like is playing with his nose, or like nudges his nose, and his nose like is bending in a weird way while he's thinking about something or having a thought. It's very funny.
Good stuff. The nose is very effective as an emotional tool for Usopp. You can see which way the wind blows and how he's feeling each day. I also like that this is just something that came to mind now, but like they point out that it's weird that his nose is that long in the story. Like characters take note of it. It's not just something they brush off. Like, you know, Krillin in Dragon Ball Z does not have a nose. It's brought up one time in the original Dragon Ball manga as a way for him to win a fight against a very smelly guy, which again is like, why do they really? You're going to bring this up now? And then it's never mentioned again. But it's made clear that the long nose, hey, there's this guy running around with a long nose. It's not like just a thing. It is, or something that like an artistic touch. It's weird. They're all like, why is your nose that long? Come on, Pinocchio. Jeez.
I think there's a moment, it might be Zoro or one of the characters is like, they've got saw nose and we've got long nose. In the same cell, they mention Usopp's long nose and Arlong's saw nose, which I thought was pretty funny.
It's Battle of the Noses.
Battle of the Noses.
I think
the strongest nose win.
You think he's self-conscious about his long nose? Of course he is. He's self-conscious about everything.
All right, let's move on to Buggy's crew after the battle, part 27, Parade. Buggy and his crew finish off the Kamate tribe.
Well,
he's here to save the day.
Yeah, I guess now that Buggy's back in business, yeah, he's pretty formidable actually for a group like this.
Back in action.
Back in action.
All right, moving on to chapter 74, Business. Arlong holds Usopp at knife point, questioning him where Zoro is. Usopp denies knowing Zoro. When pressed further, he instead warns that Zoro is his friend, so they would regret hurting him. Arlong asks Usopp that if he kills him, will Zoro show up? Usopp responds that if he is killed, Zoro will never show up and begs Nami to help him. This doesn't go unnoticed, and Kurubi further suspects Nami is not to be trusted. Usopp yells at Nami for deceiving Luffy, though Nami tells him that Luffy is a fool and she only trusts money. Hachi returns to see the destruction that Zoro caused and wonders what happened. He realizes his error and that the one that he helped earlier was Zoro, who he just brought over to Cocoa Village to meet with Arlong. Arlong notes that Zoro is looking for him, so he just needs to wait. Nami decides to take this moment to take out Zoro's companion before he makes things worse, smacking Usopp with her staff. She admits that it was her mistake that brought Usopp here, so she should be the one to kill him. Usopp attempts to escape with a smoke bomb, but Nami predicted he would do something like that. She takes a knife and stabs Usopp, telling him it's not personal. Nami kicks him into the water, quelling any further suspicion Arlong's crew had about her loyalty. Unfortunately, Johnny witnessed the whole thing. Kurubi explains that he was wondering why Nami was so interested in buying Cocoa Village, until she shows the treasure map he found in her room with the village marked by an X. Nami is upset that her privacy was invaded. Arlong tells him to give the map back, reassuring Nami that he will stay true to his word. Just outside Arlong Park, Luffy's boat is now close to arriving, but is off course. They are about to crash on the shore just as Zoro is running this way to get back to Arlong Park. Yeah, so I jumped ahead just a little bit when I was thumbing through the chapter. But yeah, like we were just talking about Zoro flip-flopping his his argument for not killing him.
It's classic routine almost. I mean, this chapter is Nami, no.
Nami, how could you?
This is rough. Well, I wonder now.
But yeah, I mean, Nami just straight up kills Usopp.
Yeah, no, he's dead for the rest of the series.
Him in the gut.
So yeah, like I was just saying, how she want to harm anybody? Well, I spoke too soon.
Yeah, I guess so.
He even has a great one-liner: "Die quietly."
Yeah. Well, that's Nami.
Brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. So like Nami expected Usopp to try to do something tricky, so like the smoke bomb didn't work for her. So Usopp's tricks were no match for Nami's tricks.
Wow.
Yeah, and then like her face in these panels too, the way she just like comes in at him.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, she basically
yeah,
she looks like she's just like very serious and like she's ready to kill.
Yeah.
So very very different expressions than what we're getting from Nami before.
Made up her mind.
So I guess her priorities were to her goal. Yeah, so her friends were getting in the way. So she had to take them out.
I guess it's that simple, huh? There's something here I was going to bring up, but I don't know if I'm going to remember it. So, I mean, it's a great chapter. I love Usopp's. He trusts you completely. Even now, it's almost like a mirror of his shocked. Well, no, I was thinking. Well, it's a great face. It's a great face.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of Hachi's "that was him" face is like a mirror to Usopp's face earlier. It's also with the huge tongue and everything. It's really good.
We found the Usopp of the crew.
Yes, exactly.
So good.
Yeah, long nose, long mouth.
That was a funny moment. He comes back and says, "Hey, what's all the hubbub?"
What's all the hubbub about, guys? What's going on?
This guy.
But I like how they kind of just brush it off for him. Like they don't like punish him. Just like they call him an idiot and just kind of move on.
I remember what I was going to bring up, but it's for next chapter.
So. Okay.
All right.
Put a pin in that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I mean, this is a brutal one, man. Like there's no two ways about it. It's just like, whoa, when you first read it, you're just like, okay, well maybe she just stabbed Usopp in the chest. It's like, oh well, okay, I guess we're in for a rough ride here.
So Luffy, you might want to start looking for a new navigator.
Maybe just a bit, and a new sharpshooter.
It went
Two
there.
positions just opened up.
2 positions just opened up.
We also get introduced to the map, Nami's map of Coco Island with the X on it.
Hmm.
Or sorry, Coco Village.
Yeah, Cocoa Village. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a
something.
detail.
Some plan is in motion. It's not like admirable, but some part of you is like, good on Arlong for like sticking up for Nami, like give her that mat back. Like it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you murdering racist tyrant, you like. It's like, okay, now I don't feel as good anymore. But for the moment, you're almost like, yeah, you tell him. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
No, I'm with
Well,
you.
he's sticking for Nami.
We're rooting for Nami, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he seems to be making an exception for Nami.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the normal behavior, and he seems to kind of let more things slide than usual with Nami. So yeah, just something to note there.
Just like it.
Okay. Yeah. So then after the dust kind of settles there, Usopp is now stabbed, and we get the arrival of Luffy and the others. So the whole team's gonna be now on the island, so we can get that going. Yeah, it looks like Zoro's Zoro's not in a good position right now, though.
Is he ever? Like he's either like bleeding out from the gut or like taken by the Navy, or like the man does not have a moment of peace, or when he does, he quickly decides to no longer have a moment of peace. So
All right. Anything else before we move on from this chapter?
I think I'm ready to see what happens.
Yes. Let's keep it going.
Okay, so we get to wrap up the cover story for Buggy's crew after the battle, the final episode. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Buggy's crew rejoices as they are reunited with their captain.
Final episode? What does that mean?
Uh-oh.
What?
So that's the end of the cover story.
Bummer.
Damn.
They're just getting good.
So yeah, so you had that whole mini story going on. So now we can go back to like the little art pieces, like the
Your favorite, Evan.
Yeah,
I mean, they are my favorite.
Yeah.
And the rest of this book is great. There's some really good ones. But yeah, I'm surprised it ends there. I feel like, Buggy is back. He's been reunited with his crew. They're already back to their old clown uniforms.
Yeah. So what would you think of the overall cover story?
I thought that was really cool. I mean, it was fun seeing Buggy's rebirth, kind of, or just coming back to full strength with his crew, because last time
It's quite a journey.
he was in a pretty rough situation. And I thought it was fun, and we kind of saw him moving tangent to this storyline, going to like Gaiman's Island and like places that we recognize and characters that we recognize. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But overall, it was cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a fun way to it's a fun way to move parts of the story without interrupting the main story.
Yeah.
So instead of like dedicating like panels or like page counts to that, like it's something that can be told over time in little increments, and it's a nice way to do that. So now we see what happened to Buggy after the battle from his fight with Luffy. We saw him like basically missing his parts. He regained his parts, rejoined his crew, and now he also has a new companion. We don't really know what her deal is yet, so we'll see if that comes up again.
We know she's after Luffy.
Yeah, so she has some kind of reason to go to Luffy.
Yeah. No, I thought that was cool. It's a very cool way of telling a side story instead of just having just like fun, meaningless cover art. They have like a side story. I think that's a really cool touch. Although I
enjoy the cover stories.
I love the meaningless fun panels. I mean, those are kind of my favorite.
Well, they're back for a bit.
Yeah, so you get the best of both worlds here. So we get some cover stories, now we get some art, and that's gonna be the general kind of flow of things going forward. So like, it's not always be cover stories; it's gonna be like a little mix here and there.
We haven't mentioned the question corner yet, but the art for it with Choo Choo and Boodle.
Oh yeah,
That's cute.
The art is really fun.
Yeah, those two get switched up quite a bit.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I haven't been mentioning those, but yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the SBS was like not as
there's a lot of silly stuff and pointless stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it wasn't really noteworthy. That's why there wasn't a single note in here that I felt was worth really mentioning in particular. But if there's something that that you want to mention, go for it. Yeah, nothing really stood out to me too much.
Yeah, less noteworthy than normal, I would say.
Let's move on to the actual chapter 75 of Maps and Fishmen. Momu crashes into the shore, sending Luffy's boat flying onto the land and crashing right into Zoro. Zoro angrily brushes it off, suddenly remembering that Arlong has Usopp. As they start to rush after him, Johnny arrives to tell them that Nami killed Usopp. Over in Cocoa Village, the townsfolk spot a Navy ship arriving. One of the elders from Gosa managed to send a message for help before being killed, so they are relieved to see help is on the way. Navy Base 77, led by Commodore Purin, begin their attack on Arlong Park with a shot from their cannon. Arlong orders his men to parley with the government to try to bribe them. As the cannonball is about to land, Arlong catches it in his mouth, crushing it like a piece of candy. Arlong changes his order to take out the ship without mercy. Arlong sends his 3 strongest fishermen to dismantle the ship, and they create a maelstrom that sinks the ship along with the villagers' hopes. The fishmen return, reasserting their dominance and raw power combined with Nami's map making. Nami is too valuable to the operation, but Arlong would never go back on his word if she gets the 100 million berries. Luffy does not believe what Johnny had said when he told him that Nami killed Usopp. She is one of his shipmates and would never do something like that. Nami arrives asking who his shipmate is.
All right.
So, yeah, Evan, what'd you think of this one?
Well, first of all, Zoro gets hit by a ship right at the beginning, and gets hit and's like, Luffy, what the heck? He's got a little blood coming from his head, but he's like more angry than he is injured.
Yeah.
He just got hit by a ship.
There's no time to chat. I'm like, you just got rammed by a massive ship.
Like, yo. All of them were in a massive shipwreck, and they all came out okay.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, Zoro like really takes a beating though. Like he was already like beat up from his fight with Mihawk. He was like like on the verge of death there, and like he's like he just like had a fight like all of Arlong's men. He's been running back and forth, and now he gets hit by a boat. Like yeah, he's he's pretty resilient though.
Yep. And this great reaction shot when they say Usopp's been killed by Nami.
Yeah. But I like how Luffy doesn't believe it.
Yeah, immediately dismisses it.
Yeah. So he still trusts Nami even after she took their ship, and she was lying to them this whole time and killed more of their crewmates. But yeah, he still has faith in Nami. So
yeah. And then in the next scene, the Navy takes a shot at Arlong and co. And what a shot. So Arlong is sitting in his throne, and they see a cannonball coming in, and he doesn't even move. He just opens his mouth and catches the cannonball in his mouth. So, I mean, for the Marines, like, what a shot.
I know, right? Like, almost took out the main guy right there.
If this had been any other...
couldn't eat cannonballs, that would have been a direct hit on their leader to the face. And what a cool panel when he catches it in his mouth.
Yeah, that is cool.
That's really good. Really good.
And
Chomp.
those big sharp teeth.
Yeah.
Making the eyes,
That's
the
a
pupils
great
disappear, and it's like gets almost more like
Yeah.
almost more black and white in a way to me. I don't know how to explain it, but
It was
like
like heavy shading.
Very
heavy
cool.
shading, yeah.
Yep.
And when like the like the lines coming out.
Right.
Yeah, very dynamic.
Yep.
Yeah, I like how that like makes him change his mind. So he's like, just like, never mind, let's go kill him. Like he's like, let's try it the civil way. We can do this with the money.
Yeah.
We can be like civilized people. Like,
What's
okay,
that?
nope.
Cannonball? No, fuck. Okay, all right. We're gonna be jerks. You're gonna be jerks about it. All right.
Like, it barely inconvenienced him. He didn't have to stand up,
Yeah.
but that was enough to send him over the edge. So
It is nice though. They may not have been particularly effective, though, as Evan says, they were in a conventional manner. They're just up against very unconventional opponents.
Yeah.
It is nice to, in a way, to finally see a seemingly purely noble Navy group that are just like, we're going to do the right thing, men. Here we are. And they just get slaughtered.
Yeah.
It just gets slaughtered.
And how do you know they were going to get slaughtered? Because they didn't even give an intro to the captain.
Until two panels before he dies. One panel before he dies. Like
he doesn't get the introduction. Ta-da! So I was like, "Oh no, he's not going to last long."
He doesn't get a text box with his name and rank underneath it. It's like, no, he's done, dude.
No, they gave that to the fishmen.
Yep.
I mean, the character design is incredible. It was also really cool seeing them fighting, like seeing them in their element and using the sea to take down the Navy so quickly and so proficiently.
Yeah, more than just like brute strength, they use like other like abilities that they have that only the fishmen can do.
They had a clear game plan. I mean, what's his face? The kisser fishman, Chew,
yeah.
So he was like narrating the whole thing as it was happening. Like they had it down. They had it choreographed.
Yeah, and they also show it. They show Chew shooting the water.
Oh yeah,
from his mouth, like a water gun. It goes like right through the guy.
Yeah, like a bullet.
Yeah, so like it pierces him. So that's pretty brutal.
Pretty strong skill.
And Sean, did you have something?
I can't take Chew seriously. He's a pumpkin spice white girl doing an Instagram pose in every instance of his life. That's just what he does. It's like, okay, buddy, I get it. He'd kill me in 2 seconds with his kiss water bullets, but like I would die. Like, you look so lame. So lame.
he has resting duck face.
He has resting duck
face. And like all of his conversations start with smeck.
Yeah.
Which you've got to think is just like a kissing sound. Like
it's exactly a kissing sound.
Yeah. But he gets little hearts around it too. Well, underneath it.
Yes. It's stylized.
So yeah.
Credit to Hachi for pushing an entire reef. Just like, yeah, okay, I guess we have to push this whole reef. Like,
yep.
All right. And then Luffy at the end, that is maybe the most intense we've seen him in a long while. Like, just
yeah.
I feel like he didn't even get that intense during the Krieg fight. Like, he's furious.
Yeah, when Gin got attacked. Yeah.
The idea of this is just the idea that Nami would kill Usopp just makes him soaked with rage. It's
total denial.
Total denial. Yeah.
And then who shows up? Nami shows up.
Hey, somebody talking about my ass? Like, just
it can't be me. I know I'm not part of your crew.
No. I'm the evil witch lady who just stabbed Usopp, apparently. But I mean, that's all Luffy is saying. Yeah. That's all Luffy's saying. Oh, there's no way Nami would kill Usopp. She just stabbed him. It's fine. Like, doesn't mean he's dead. Nami would, of course, stab Usopp. She'd stab any of us. It was part of her contract when I hired her. Yeah. she specifically requested the ability to stab any of us at any time, as long as it's not lethal. Yeah. Well, we're about to find out whose crewmate she may truly be. I don't know.
There we go.
There's more there. But yeah, I just wanted to backtrack because just to kind of highlight the situation that the villagers are in. Like they were all excited to see that somebody's finally coming to save them. Like Sean was saying, this is like the first time we're seeing one of the named people with seemingly more noble intentions. So they come in to try to help these villagers who are clearly in need of it, and then they just watch the ship go down along with like any hope that they had. So it's like devastating, but it seems like Nojiko is kind of more expecting this kind of thing. And she says like, this is our reality. Nobody can escape Arlong's control. So it seems like Nojiko's more of accepted their fate, the situation that they're in. But Chabo the boy seemed he still has more faith because he's younger and he was hoping that this might be the time. But I think everybody else is kind of a little bit more jaded after like just being down for like the past several years.
I get the implication that Nojiko, she has seen a handful at least of Navy ships attempt something very similar to this, and they've all ended the same way.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's not expecting anything new with this guy, even if his hair is fancy. Like he doesn't get it. She's on the dock, being like, he's not gonna get a text box.
That hair is.
He had to announce his own name.
He has to announce his own name. Kid, there's no chance. I'm sorry.
All right, let's get into chapter 76, Sleep. Nami asks why they bothered to come here. Luffy says he came to get her. She says that they're a bunch of misfits and doesn't seem interested in coming along. Johnny shouts that Nami has been deceiving them all along to get their treasure, and he saw her kill Usopp himself. She says Zoro is tough, but is no match for Arlong. Zoro asks where Usopp is. Nami replies that he's feeding the fishes. Frustrated, Zoro gets ready to attack her, but Sanji stops him. As they start to fight with each other, Nami tells him to leave and never come back. Luffy decides that this is the perfect opportunity to take a nap, so he pops right down in the middle of the road. Johnny and Yosaku decide it's not worth staying for this evil woman, and they take their leave. Usopp walks through Cocoa Village, sopping wet. He contemplates what to think as he recalls Nami stabbing her own hand to fake stabbing Usopp. If she was all bad, she would have killed him. He remembers that Zoro was looking for Arlong and would be on his way back to Arlong Park. He runs to catch up. As the others try to figure out if Nami really killed Usopp, he comes running over. Bad timing as Sanji and Zoro begin fighting over Nami again and end up kicking Usopp and catching him between their attacks. Nojiko returns home to find Nami there, resting after causing a mess. Nojiko tries to find out what's wrong, but was able to figure out that Nami was upset about her friends, so Nami fills her in. Back with Luffy's crew, Usopp explains that Nami saved his life and has some kind of ulterior motive. Nojiko arrives, telling them that they will never defeat Arlong, so they shouldn't try. She makes a deal to tell them everything if they agree to leave. Back at the village, another Navy ship arrives. This time, Captain Izumi is the one who shows up, asking where he can find Nami. All right, who wants to talk about this one?
Well, I guess she has a heart after all. Who could have seen this one coming? No, and it's still a great reversal. Yes. It shows her dedication to both to keep up the act and to keep Usopp alive, to stab her own hand in the process.
Yeah.
Which, Joel, if you'll permit me to say one more mention of the One Piece changes, the 4Kids One Piece changes here.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
in the 4Kids dub version, they changed it to, in the span of those like 5 seconds where she's going in to stab Usopp, you hear Nami, they edit in lines that are not in the original, obviously, of Nami going, "Usopp, give me your rubber knife." "Oh, right, Nami, here you go." And he gives her his rubber knife, and he's like, "Oh, I'll act up the injury, Nami, yay!" And like, there's no blood, and it just assumed like, "Yeah, your rubber knife. There we go. Okay, we're good."
I'm actually surprised they even went that far and like had some kind of knife involved at all whatsoever.
Oh, it's intense. Like it's so ADR'd in. It's just awful.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in this volume, the fact that they played up the blood so much, it was like kind of I think what gave it away. Like I totally saw this coming, like her stabbing herself.
Oh, you saw that? Okay.
I didn't say it earlier just because I didn't want to spoil it, but like I totally saw this coming, and I think there was like a few cells in the earlier chapter that were like close-ups on the blood, close-ups on her hand, things like that, and I was like, A, there's no way Nami just killed Usopp, but B, I think that they did kind of like play that up a little bit where it makes sense in this chapter when they reveal it.
Yeah, because when I first went through this, like I had a feeling Usopp wasn't dead, but I had no idea how he wouldn't be dead.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see this coming. So to me, this really caught me by surprise as to like how it played out, and I thought it was really clever.
Yeah.
Because like the fact that there is actual blood,
Yep.
Is it shows that it wasn't like a fake, like the 4Kids version show I was just talking about, or like, oh, she pretends to stab him. Like somebody actually gets stabbed. It's just not who you think it is.
Yeah.
So I think the paneling is like brilliant, and like in hindsight, like but I think that's just
shot,
a good storytelling. A good sign of storytelling.
And bloody knife, and then that shot too. I was like, oh man, they're really playing up the bloody hand, bloody knife.
Yeah.
I also just deep down, I was like, there's no way Nami just killed Usopp. You know?
No, and
I think
meta, yeah. There's no way.
Yeah, I think you're meant to not necessarily think that, like, you know something's up. There's a catch to it.
Yeah.
I didn't quite know what it was. So to me, this was a pleasant surprise, and I thought it was very clever the way it played out.
Definitely. Nami thinking on her feet. And sticking up for the crew.
By sticking it to her hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. She did that real well.
Yeah, so I love... Is this in this chapter? I'm sorry. I know you just recapped it, but I gotta go back and check for myself.
No, I've been doing the recaps,
Yes.
and sometimes I still get myself caught up. Like...
I love Luffy just being like, I'm gonna take a nap now. I cannot handle this situation. This is too much for Luffy brain. I'm just gonna lie down right here.
I think it's more just to kind of play up that he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that too.
So he's like so carefree that like he's just like I can just lay here. Like I don't have to worry about like like trying to save the day. Like he's committed. He's like dead set on staying, and this is his way of showing he's not going anywhere, even though Nami is begging him to leave.
Yeah,
Luffy's not concerned. As far as he's concerned, like he's just here for Nami. So if he's not leaving until Nami's going. So
if that means waiting for her to get all the money or whatever, then he'll just wait here. But it's the more noble version in a way of the child throwing a tantrum and refusing to leave the store. Just like, what's that, Nami? You won't buy me my Goldie Roger action figure? Then I'm just gonna just lie down right here.
Totally. There's a lot of people taking naps in the next couple of chapters.
It seems to be a recurring theme.
It's recurring. Everyone's pretty tired at this point. A lot of shit's gone down.
Yeah, good time.
We also see the tangerines for the first time in this.
Oh yeah.
And that was like one of Nami's first lines ever, wasn't it? Like, I love money and tangerines or something like that.
Yeah, so we see why.
I forget the exact wording, but
yeah.
She's always mentioned tangerines, and now we're kind of getting some of that backstory.
We also get the start of Zoro and Sanji's rivalry. So they're butting heads. So
saw that coming too.
Yeah.
I feel like we kind of butt heads a little bit in the Baratier arc as well.
Yeah, I feel like a little bit, but I feel like not to this extent.
Yeah.
Like they're like really going at it with each other, and they get physical at this point. They start like trying to fight each other, and like Sanji, of course, is trying to defend Nami, and Zoro's just ready to throw down for for Usopp basically.
And Usopp gets the brunt of it. This is such a great.
Another Usopp base, yeah.
So good.
I also wanted to point out that Sanji refers to Zoro by his name, but Zoro does not refer to Sanji by his name.
He's just forgotten his name.
Wait, say that again.
So Sanji says Zoro's name.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "What kind of swordsman attacks a young lady, Zoro?" And then Zoro responds, "Stay out of this, you love-struck fool." So I just want to point that out, that we see Sanji referring to Zoro by his name, but we don't see Zoro call Sanji by his name.
Also, when they're placing the blame on what happened to Usopp, Sanji says, "Well, actually, it was Zoro and me," and Zoro says, "It was you."
Yeah, so their rivalry is
blooming.
Yeah, it's an endless source of entertainment.
I mean, it's good stuff between these two. Like, without now that like Sanji was like you said, the rivalry was a little bit there, but then Zoro just gets taken out of the picture by gut injury very quickly. So, now with him recovered, though, is he ever really recovered? I swear this guy has bandages on his chest for the next like 7 volumes at least. Like, it could flourish, the antagonism could flourish more with him in earshot, and actually part of the crew now, Sanji's part. So it's good stuff. God, Usopp's face when he gets crushed between them is just like, his teeth are just so pronounced that he's alive unless you just killed him. It's such a great like, well, whoops. There we go.
I like the this kind of like a tender moment between Nojiko and Nami.
Yep.
So Nojiko's not really mad that Nami kind of destroyed everything. But she kind of comes in and recognizes that Nami's struggling, but she can tell why. So she met her friends, and she can tell that Nami's now kind of like stuck between trying to get her goal, and now she's worried about her friends. So Nojiko understands that. But I think it's funny that that Nojiko says, "I met the captain. His story struck me as a little colorful." She's talking about Usopp.
Right.
So, Usopp introduced himself as a captain, so she thinks that Usopp's still the captain.
That is funny. In this volume, I feel like a lot of different parties are pinning the captain on different characters. I think, is it I think the pirates think that Zoro is the captain.
So they think he's like the ringleader, and like Usopp's might be his men.
Yep. And then Nojiko thinks that it's Usopp.
But yeah, that's what Usopp strip told her. So you can't really blame her for thinking that.
No, totally, yeah. It's just funny that like this chapter, I feel like a lot of times they reference the crew's captain, and it's never Luffy.
He never even comes into the equation.
Yeah, never in the equation.
I mean, he's barely met anyone on the island at this point, right? Like Luffy,
he crashed. Yeah, he like landed here
and then lied down on the road. So he hasn't met either the fishmen or any of the villagers really. Like it's just kind of like, it's funny.
He doesn't know what's going on, except he just cares about Nami. So that's all he needs to know. He has the important details, and that's it.
The Navy shows up, and we see this familiar face.
Oh, that weirdo!
This guy with the whiskers.
I'm sure he's here to save the day.
You think his superiors know that he modified his hood to give himself fucking cat ears?
That's not regulation. Actually, it's mouse ears.
Oh, mouse ears, right.
Yeah,
it's like
he's a rat.
Are we really allowing a furry to enlist in the Navy?
Well, there's a bunch of weirdos out there. I don't see why not.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, are we ready to move on to the next chapter?
I'm good to go.
Chapter 77, The First Step Toward a Dream. Luffy tells Nojiko that he doesn't care about Nami's past and walks off. The others agree to listen, though Zoro thinks that this is the perfect time to take a nap. 8 years ago, Genzo catches a young Nami stealing a book. Nami says that she has to steal the book because they are too poor to afford it. Genzo returns Nami home to her foster mother, Belle-Mère. Genzo tries to have Belle-Mère take responsibility to stop this behavior, but she brushes him off. Nami says she had to have the book to learn navigation. Her dream is to make a map of the whole world. Belle-Mère prepares a meal for Nami and Nojiko, but is on a diet and didn't make any for herself. She presents her handiwork as she changed the sunflower into a lion on Nojiko's old dress to pass on to Nami. Nami says she's tired of hand-me-downs and that Nojiko isn't even her real sister. Belle-Mère will not tolerate this and slaps Nami. She shouts at Nami that it doesn't make a difference that they aren't related by blood. Nami tells Belle-Mère that she's not her real mother either, and she would be better off without worrying about kids. Nami wishes she was found by rich people instead. Deeply hurt, Belle-Mère tells Nami that she can just leave if she hates it here so much. Nojiko tries to tell them to stop fighting, but Nami runs off. Belle-Mère comes to her senses and asks Nojiko to go after Nami, and she'll have a nice dinner waiting for them. Nami went to town and met up with Genzo. She tells him that Belle-Mère is poor because of them, and Nami caused her so much trouble. Genzo laughs, telling Nami that Belle-Mère used to cause trouble too before joining the Marines. He goes on to explain that Belle-Mère came home one day in a terrible storm after finding both of the girls in the aftermath of a battlefield. Belle-Mère was on the verge of death when a 3-year-old Nojiko found her, carrying an infant Nami. Belle-Mère decided to live to help these girls. Nami didn't know the full story as Belle-Mère told him that they were found under a bridge. Nojiko finds Nami with Genzo so they can head home. This is when Arlong shows up with his pirate crew, announcing that he will be taking over the village.
And so the story is revealed. Remember when we were like, Evan, you were asking?
I've been asking this since volume 1. I'm like, when are we going to get Nami's backstory?
Who's Belle-Mère? What is that name? What is that?
Yes.
Remember,
okay,
she says,
so when did we hear it before? Because
I've forgotten myself, but I know it was mentioned.
Yeah, it was when Nami was on the boat by herself after she took the Mary, and she was kind of just off on her own saying, like, when will I be free, Belle-Mère? Or I just want to be free, Belle-Mère, or something like that. Yeah.
It rang a bell, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go back and look at all the previous volumes until I find it.
Joel beat me to it. You might say it rang a Belle-Mère.
Yeah, I've also amended how it's pronouncing Belle-Mère, because the anime does say Belle-Mère, but they also spelled it as like one word. With the manga, I'm going with Belle-Mère because of the way that they hyphenate it. They put the accent over it. I looked it up, and Belle-Mère translates to stepmother in French.
Oh,
the way that they have it.
Very subtle, Oda.
Yeah. So with that, I think it's hard to argue with the pronunciation. So I'm just gonna go with Belle-Mère.
Works for me. Yeah, that's what I've always said.
Wow, it's very touching backstory. I've been begging for a Nami backstory, and now we get it. I'm just like, damn, this is some
here
shit.
It is.
Yeah.
So we're finally peeling back the tangerine and seeing, seeing Nami for like who she is, like the true Nami.
Yep.
Yeah. So of course Zoro. Like we just talked about, Zoro goes to take a nap. So
yeah, I was just saying,
very sleepy crew. Like he immediately he's like, yeah, we'll listen to your story, and then immediately is sleeping.
Yep.
Yeah, again, another great Usopp face.
The Usopp never fails. What can we say? Yeah, this was, I mean, the first chapter. We'll go for a second, but this was wild to me. I remember rereading this a bunch as a kid, just being like, man, Belle-Mère seems so cool. She's got that cool haircut and she's cool stuff, and I just liked her from the start. So
yeah,
it all it took was one chapter and a flashback for me to immediately emphasize and like this character, and that's credit to Oda's writing right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of information in this one chapter. Like, there's a lot we can tell from Belle-Mère. what kind of person that she is. So they're not rich. They don't have a lot of money. She took on these girls after basically she was in the Marines. She survived the Marines to raise these girls. She took that upon herself, and she's doing what she can with what little she has. But the girls, you can tell, are important to her. There is that moment where she slaps Nami, but I think with her personality, she's a tough, tough Navy person, ex-Navy person. So she's maybe not the most delicate. So I'm not trying to excuse her behavior and not saying that it's okay. But
I get the sense she regretted that pretty quickly after.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not like she's super abusive, intentionally. It was just a heat of the moment kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an indication that she doesn't care about her kids. She clearly regrets it and feels bad about it. She just kind of let her emotions get the best of her for a minute. And she's over here making clothes for Nami, trying to make the hand-me-downs a little different, so it's unique. She's trying to make meals for them. She says that she's on a diet, but it's because she can't afford food for herself. So she just tells them so they don't worry about her. And she's probably eating a lot of tangerines because that's what they have. So they're not in a great position, but they're doing the best with what they have.
Yeah, this backstory really sucked me in because it goes on for a few chapters, and I could not put this book down. I was just so wrapped up in it. And like I said, I feel like I've been dying for some Nami backstory, and we finally get it, and it's just really gripping, and I feel like really kind of shapes the Nami that we know,
Yeah,
over the next couple chapters.
Yeah, I mean, even from volume 2, Oda's been planting those seeds for Nami.
Yeah,
like we're just saying, we're finally getting the payoff from volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just the beginning of the story. He's paying off things that he intentionally was saving for now. But he has been kind of building up that mystery about Nami, who she is, what's her deal,
right?
And then she leaves the crew with the Mary. So we know she's not out of the story because they have to go get the Mary back. But we also don't know what Nami's role is. So it's really, I think it's really satisfying to get those answers.
Yeah.
And I think it's just really well done, and it's really, really emotional. And, kind of like I was just saying before, how Belle-Mère kind of let the anger get the best of her, but Nami's also a little kid, and it's really common for kids to be like, "Oh, I hate my parents. The worst. I have the worst parents in the world."
Mm-hmm.
You don't actually mean that, but you're a kid. You don't really know. So she said these mean things, and that's never what you want to hear as a parent. I'm sure. I don't know. My cat doesn't say that to me.
Well,
but,
it wasn't. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
It wasn't even like she was being like, I hate my parents. It was her denying her sister's relationship that really set her off. Like I imagine she would have been able to handle Nami saying like, I don't like you, Belle-Mère, but when she insulted her sister, she's like, no, you don't do that. I don't know.
I think it's everything kind of building up and bursting.
It all boils over.
Yeah.
All boils over. But yeah. We get to see my favorite guy, my new favorite side character that's just going to be a thing I do now. Just hey, I like this one guy. Genzo, Scarless.
Yeah. Genzo. So,
where he seems
young Genzo.
Not a scar, not a blemish upon his porcelain white skin. But he seems he's lively and happy. I'm sure that'll never change.
Yeah.
Genjo's still got the pinwheel though.
Still got the pinwheel.
Also, your last favorite, Gin, is mentioned in the SBS. I don't remember. I don't know which
I didn't even read that.
But Oda even says that, hey, don't hate on Gin. He's one of our favorites. Or something along those lines. I don't remember the exact wording. But
I'll have to search that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Figure it out.
Yeah, and then we kind of get also the sense of Genzo has a good relationship with Belle-Mère. He knows the truth, but he's also trying to defend her. He lets things slide with Nami. Nami's stealing the book, But Nami has like a passion for navigation. Belle-Mère kind of like also like brushes it off. So they have a friendly relationship.
Oh God, I found the Geen question. Where was Geen hiding that weapon? Was it down there or what? Are you insinuating the weapon was hidden between Geen's legs? He wouldn't do such a thing like that. Geen's fans are going to be mad at you, and he's very popular.
Yes. That answer reminded me of you. I'm like, Sean would be very
I would be
offended.
How dare you insinuate that Geen... I mean, okay, yeah, well, we'll see. I'm still holding out hope for Geen to return, is all I can say. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everything's going to be great. I'd say I'm excited to see what happens next in this fan. I'm sure they'll beat off Arlong and everything will be fine.
Well, I mean, with this entrance, they're
quite the grand entrance.
Yeah, their ship is very intimidating.
Oh, yeah. Great shot of the ship. It's such a cool looking ship.
And then Arlong himself making his grand entrance.
Yeah.
So I mean, things are they seem like they're kind of going along like normal, but kind of strange with where Nami is right now. Again, this doesn't seem like it's meant to be like a permanent thing. You just kind of have like a little fight, and they'll make up and get over it. So it's just unfortunate timing that Arlong decides to make his landing now.
Terrible timing.
They mentioned they mentioned something here about when Arlong is arriving. The rumors are true. The Fishmen Pirates of the Grand Line have split up, and a band of them are here. I wonder what that's about. Well, sounds like maybe there's even a larger force beyond. Yeah, I know. I think we learned about. We heard Jinbei mentioned. So he maybe.
I think it was mentioned last volume. That Arlong was buddy with one of the like 7 elite. Is it 7?
Yeah, so Jinbei is one of the members of the 7 warlords of the sea.
7 warlords, that's right.
But yeah, Yosaku was saying that Jinbei was responsible for unleashing a terror on the East Blue, which is Arlong. So we know that Jinbei is one of the members of the Fishmen Pirates, and it seems like they had some kind of split up here, like Sean was mentioning. So Arlong decided to make his way over here. This is what he's doing with his life now.
Well, I wonder how that split up went. Probably not very peacefully, but we'll find out someday, maybe. Well, Jinbei or no Jinbei, Arlong's bad enough, and it's not looking good for Cocoa Village at this point.
Not looking good.
All right. How about we move on to the next chapter and see how not good everything looks. All right. Chapter 78, Belle-Mère. Arlong makes his way through the village, collecting 100,000 berries per adult and 50,000 per child. Anyone who can't pay this initial amount is to be killed. After they seemingly collected the payments from everyone in the village and are ready to leave, one of the fishermen notices that there is smoke coming from the outskirts of the village. Realizing they missed someone, they make their way to Belle-Mère's home. Nami and Nojiko were hiding out in the forest, but run home when they see the fishermen heading that way as well. Arlong knocks on the door and is greeted with a gun to his mouth by Belle-Mère as she pins the fishman down. She's not ready to go down without a fight. Arlong laughs as he bites the gun apart, then brutally breaks her arm. Gendo arrives to try to calm things down, telling Belle-Mère to pay up so the fisherman will leave her be. Belle-Mère tells Genzo she doesn't have enough in her secret savings, only a little over 100,000. Hachi notices the table is set for 3 people, but Genzo convinces them that Belle-Mère had invited he and the doctor over for dinner, so she only owes 100,000. Kurubi notes the records don't indicate any marriages or births, so this checks out. Elsewhere, the doctor tells Nojiko and Nami that they need to leave the village before Arlong finds out about them. Nojiko says that they'll do it. Belle-Mère says that she'll pay the 100,000, 50,000 for each of her daughters. She can't bring herself to admit that she doesn't have any daughters, even if it'll cost her her life. Nami and Nojiko run to Belle-Mère and hug her. Belle-Mère tells them that she's sorry she wasn't a good mother and that she couldn't get them nice things. Arlong agrees that he won't harm the kids if Belle-Mère doesn't fight back. Unable to stand back, Genzo attacks the fishmen, but is easily defeated. Arlong decides to make an example of Belle-Mère. She tells her kids that she loves them one last time.
Oof.
So this is it. Like, this is when I'm like, oh man, the main course. Like, this roughed me up as a kid. It's brutal. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Just as a quick aside, it's the worst thing in the world to bring up 4Kids again. They don't kill Belle-Mère in 4Kids. She's locked in the dungeon for the rest of her life. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I remember reading that the other day. And,
They
I didn't even know they did.
In the anime, instead of the gun pointing at Belle-Mère, they edit it so it's Arlong just pointing at her. It's like, go to the dungeon, you. And it's like, wow, you just couldn't make this worse if you tried. But it's I mean, this is it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely just it's and then we see where Genzo gets his scars trying one love. No, he shoots, and then what's his name just chops him, slices up. It's brutal. It's brutal. Evan, take over for me before I start crying.
Joel, that summary got me.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, tragic. I mean, absolutely tragic backstory. I was like devouring this. I feel like when I was reading, I was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah, just brutal. And like, you know, one little white lie and she survives. But instead, her pride as a stepmother and being the mother of these two kids leads to her demise. I mean, that was just like very gripping backstory, incredibly tragic. And like the last two cells, the I love you, and then the chaos that incurs. I mean, oof, heavy stuff.
Yeah, this chapter is a real gut punch.
Yep.
And it still gives me chills like every time. Yeah, so Belle-Mère, just unable to deny that she has the kids. Like, that's that important to her. Like, she truly sees these kids as her own, and if she tells this lie and says they're not my kids or I don't have any kids just to kind of get by, to her that's like a betrayal of like her being their mother, and it's almost like admitting like I'm not really a mother to them. So it's a really tough situation, but it really shows Belle-Mère's character, that she would handle it this way. Her kids are going to be left without a mother, which is really unfortunate. But she went down for what she truly cared about and what she believes in. So this was a sacrifice that she had to make.
You can come at it from like a purely pragmatical angle of, like Joel says, like Belle-Mère could have rationalized this, like, this is going to feel awful saying this, but I have to think about what I can truly do here and try to keep them safe, and I will say this awful, filthy lie to keep them alive, and I'll apologize and hate myself for it later. But she couldn't go down that route, and she chose like this pure moment of empathy and pure moment of candor, even though knowing it would lead. I think she trusted that like Genzo will keep them safe, the village will keep them safe. And I have to express how much I love these two girls in this moment, and I refuse to pragmatically save myself for them or whatever. I gotta put my foot down. And this is how I strike back. Like, if I can't physically hurt Arlong, I can at least stand up for myself and my daughters. So,
yeah, and it's a pure act of love, and that's where it's coming from. So yeah, she feels that love so deeply that it's the decision that she makes, and she stands by it, even if it gets her killed. But like Sean was saying, there's also people in the village that can take care of her. and Nojiko, Tsunami Nojiko. Yeah, but it's just like with the way the last chapter ended. Yeah, the way that Nami and Belle-Mère had like that fight before she took off. Like I was saying, like any other day, they probably would have just resolved things and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." But they didn't really have a lot of time to reconcile that, so they kind of left it off in that place. But they do have a moment before before it happens where they can kind of like hug and they like Nami kind of like blames herself because she can't pay because she has the kids. So if she didn't have the kids, then she could have paid for herself and not died. So Nami kind of blames herself, but like Belle-Mère never thought that way, and she was happy to give her life for her kids. So that was that's just her way of showing that.
Yeah, it's easy to see this conclusion being reached. Like, I can't say for sure what I would have done in her situation. I don't know, like, because as not a parent myself, but also just like I'm partially pragmatic, partially like I want to go for it, and I don't know. It's brutal. It's brutal, and it's real, and it's human, and that's what this series is ultimately about: is that we all have to make these decisions based on the heart sometimes.
Yeah,
And it's shown no better here than it is anywhere else, or here better than it has. I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm speaking from the heart, and I'm mumbling over my words. So yeah,
it's truly gut wrenching.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
hard to read, hard to watch. But so noble, and like the stance that she takes, and the her resolution in that moment.
I get why she couldn't, because we got to establish the fishmen as these super people, something. But I still love the pose of her kicking down the door and shoving the gun in his mouth. Like, it's badass.
That
Like,
was
it's
badass.
cool.
Yeah, that was on my notes too. Like that's such a
Yeah.
cool panel.
It's a great panel. In an alternate universe, we could have ended the threat right there, in some world where fishmen are actually totally the same, and just blow his head off. Yay, everything's good now. But that is not the world we live in, or One Piece. So cool.
Yeah,
panel.
again, showing Arlong and those teeth, he just crunches the gun.
Yeah, if you can handle a cannonball, he can handle a rifle barrel.
Right.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like how Belle-Mère isn't intimidated at first, though.
Yeah, like that's not what intimidates her initially. She's just like, I've dealt with you people before.
But yeah, unfortunately, she gets quickly outmatched, and then the way that Arlong breaks her arm is very
visceral and sickening, and it's just like, this is so bad. This is the same. We fought a sea cow 2 chapters ago. We got goofy Usopp faces, and now just like snap and blood.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So again, I'm probably gonna say this every episode, but One Piece is like balancing so many different tones. And I think this is like it's a new stretch for like that range that Oda is showing. Because we saw with Sanji's backstory, his story was also very gripping and tragic. But I feel like this is also like another emotional level that like hit me in a different way than even that story did. So again, like this is like such like a depressing chapter compared to like the rest of the series has like a lot of like fun and goofy stuff too. So there's a balance that is very delicate, but it's just masterfully pulled off throughout the storytelling. It all feels cohesive and part of the same story, and in a way that's not jarring. So it all feels like it's cohesive and makes sense.
And we get multiple chapters of backstory here. Like you're saying, like, I mean, Usopp's backstory is incredibly heart-wrenching, and so is Sanji's, and so is Zoro's. And I think it's kind of built up. It's almost gotten, exponentially more intense with each character that's been introduced. Because, I mean, this backstory, we get like almost 3 full chapters of backstory.
Yeah.
Which is not not a complaint.
Right.
I think that this is incredible backstory, and it's so pent up because we've known Nami since volume 1, and I feel like it's just been like, when are we going to get her backstory? And we finally do, and it's like this like heart-wrenching epic that takes 3 chapters to tell, and it's just so gripping, and like you're so invested at this point because you know Nami, or you think you know Nami like really well at this point, and you're kind of getting all the background and all the details, and learning about her treasure and her family and her like everything, and it's all coming together like in a beautiful package, and I think Oda does an amazing job telling this story.
Yeah, and I feel like if they had to do it here, like I think it would have still been impactful, but considerably less so if, say, enter Nami, chapter 5, 3 pages of Belle-Mère backstory. It would have been too abrupt, like where like Usopp gets his backstory pretty quick, Sanji gets his backstory pretty quick, but Nami needed this slow burn in a way to be like, who's this trickster? And then we get this more, and then we get a betrayal, and then we get a and it was such a slow burn that builds up so much anticipation and curiosity, and it's just when he pays it off gut punch. It's like, hey, you've been waiting for this, here it is. Like, oh boy, maybe I didn't want this almost, but at the same time I do. So yeah.
I feel like she's always been the wild card, and that like really plays into her character, and so it's cool to finally get some like answers and some insight onto her backstory and why she is the person that she is. There's more to come. There's more. The next chapter is also a lot of backstory.
Yeah, I think there's a big contrast between what we have like Zoro or even Usopp. Like Zoro's backstory was more like a few pages.
Yeah,
and it didn't feel like there was a lot of time to really flesh out that story or like kind of get to know those characters. So like Kuina kind of just quickly gets killed off. Whereas Belle-Mère, like Sean was saying, we have more time in this chapter to really get a sense of the character and like who she is, and like we develop this connection to her like very fast. But he's also been building a story since early on, since the character's been introduced. So I wonder how far in advance he was planning on going with this, and I don't know if like Zoro just kind of got shortchanged a little bit because it was at the beginning of the story. He kind of was like getting like a sense of like how much to go into things, or like because it's also at the beginning of a manga. It's very competitive with like these manga series that can get like ended very quickly. So maybe it's kind of something he didn't want to take a risk on and spend too much time with like backstory and just kind of keep the action going. So I don't know, like the story behind it, what the facts are, but it could be just kind of a benefit of having the series get to this point where he can take the time to really tell this kind of story and kind of decompress a little bit here and spread out over the course of a few chapters instead of trying to cram it all into like 2 pages.
Totally. I also think Nami's one of the more complex characters in this story so far, and probably deserves more of an explanation because I don't know. I feel like I said, I feel like she's kind of been like the wild card. You don't really know what side she's on, what her motives are, why she does what she does, who she really is. I feel like it's all kind of been a mystery, and we're finally getting the tangerine peel being peeled back.
Yeah,
such a great analogy you said earlier.
Yeah, and Nami herself has been a more guarded person.
Yeah.
So she's kind of been holding her cards close to her chest and not really giving too much away. And it seems like she's been like afraid to really develop a true connection with her friends. So you can tell she's always been holding back.
Yeah.
And even now, she's not really telling them the full story. She's not the one that's giving them the details. So
True.
Nami's always been more guarded, whereas like a character like Zoro, he's more upfront of like who he is. He's just more straightforward. But yeah, Nami is a different kind of character. She's always been like a cloak and dagger type character, but now like it just really fits into like her personality. But she kind of has to get to this point now where we can get the true Nami and move the story forward, and we can get her true goal, and so that we can try to get her out of like she's basically stuck like in place because of the events of the Cocoa Village and Arlong's rule. So it's really keeping her tied to this place, and she can't really go on from here.
For 8 years.
For 8 years.
It's a long time.
One day, maybe things will get better, but not today. Unfortunately, not today.
All right, so yeah, this was a very heavy chapter, but do we have any other comments or anything we want to mention before we move on?
I think, Evan, you go first. I'm still formulating. If you can.
No, I think I don't know. I think I'm ready to move on because the next chapter continues with more backstory. We kind of stopped partway through the backstory. It goes back even further.
Yeah.
Yep.
The backstory within the backstory.
Backstory within the backstory.
Yeah, I mean, we're knee deep in the muck, and it turns out we're only going deeper. But there's gold in them hills, so we'll get there. I told you guys the metaphors. They're coming hot and heavy. Like,
there's gold in the orchards.
There's gold in them orchards.
Yeah.
This is where it's Arlong Park, man. Like, there's Joel knows what I said. All I have to say is it's Arlong Park, man. This is the arc, man. This is it. This is Arlong Park arc. It's just banger after banger. Like, this train ain't stopping, and I've purchased a round trip ticket, man. Like, it is brutal and joyous and deadly and mysterious and everything that you want out of One Piece. It's great. It's great stuff.
All right, let's move on to chapter 79.
Oh God, there's another chapter. I didn't even realize. I'm sorry.
Got a couple more. Three more.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. We're still in it.
We're almost
there.
Oh God, I wrote that as like, okay, because it's okay. Yeah. Well, all right, let's keep going. Yeah. No, I read these too. Yeah, but I just was like,
yeah, they added an extra chapter in this volume, so we're now to 10. All right, so chapter 79, To Live. Arlong laughs as Belle-Mère dies, finding amusement in the situation. Hachi exits the house with the maps that Nami made. Arlong is impressed with Nami's skills, finding that she will be useful, so he has Hachi bring her along with them. Genzo steps in and reminds Arlong that Belle-Mère paid to keep Nami safe, but Arlong assures him that she won't be harmed. Not willing to stand down, Arlong has Kurubi slice up Genzo. He still tries to help, but Nami tells him not to so nobody else gets hurt. He is helpless to stop Arlong's crew. As Genzo recovers, the doctor points out that the fishmen destroyed all of their ships so they won't be able to escape. They realize the Navy is too busy to help them, so the only way out is to fight. Just as the townspeople are getting ready to gather their forces, Nami arrives in town with an announcement. She tells them that she has joined Arlong's crew as their navigator, showing them the money they gave her. To their shock, they notice Arlong's mark on her shoulder. Nojiko furiously knocks Nami down, telling her not to become a pirate. Nami tells her that she doesn't care about living a decent life. After all, look what that got Belle-Mère. Genzo intervenes and tells Nami to just go and never come back, so she runs off. Nojiko finds Nami at Belle-Mère's grave. She says how Belle-Mère used to tell her that you just need to survive, then good things will come. Nami saw firsthand as Arlong had destroyed the Navy ships, so she knows that the Navy won't be able to save them. She decides it's up to her to save the village. She made a deal with Arlong to buy Cocoa Village for 100 million berries. So she will continue to work for him, making maps until then.
And all the pieces fall into place. I feel like this is the final chunk of backstory that we needed for everything to kind of like click.
Yeah.
For Nami's character.
Yeah, and how she got involved with Arlong's crew in particular, and what her motivations were.
Right, her motivations and like her affinity for money, like kind of like the motives behind why she wants to raise this money and how she plans on going about doing that. Her start of becoming like stealing from pirates and everything that we know about Nami, I feel like kind of gets explained by the end of this backstory, which is pretty great.
Yeah, it's poor Genzo. See, like he loses his eye in one of those slashes. It feels like,
Yeah, that's like
or at the
I
very
think it
least,
looks like it, but
it's not quite true. Yeah, I know it's more like an
yeah.
artistic flourish than actually his eye is going. It's like
Yeah.
probably like right underneath his eye, but yeah, like the blood spray like covers his eye for a minute.
Yeah.
But it is brutal.
Yeah, we see how he gets all those scars.
Yeah.
So we mentioned it before, but yeah,
He's
he
such
gets
a
scarred
great character. Such a lovable character.
Yeah, and he seems to care about the kids too.
Yeah.
So Belle-Mère is gone, so he tried to help Nami, but he really couldn't do too much. But he tried. And you know, unfortunately, he's hurt by Nami's betrayal too. That Nami decided to join Arlong's crew, not really realizing the context behind it. So he he's hurt by this because he does care about her.
Yeah, I think his heart's always in the right place throughout this whole volume.
It's I mean, the tragedies pile up on one another, and eventually you almost become numb to it. But it feels. This feels like like I feel like Genzo's like, oh god, I was all right with dying in service, but to watch this girl be seemingly corrupted by the man who killed her mother is just like, what do I even have to live for at this point? Like,
Yeah.
But now I don't even want to go die. Now I just want to go sit in the corner and think about how awful this world is. I don't know. It is just it is brutal. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it gets really heavy.
But then this old girl feels the need to take on the burden for the entire village herself. So she makes the agreement, and she knows the reality of their situation, like Neojiko was saying before. This is like the hand that they were dealt, and the only way out that Nami sees is to do it herself and to work for Arlong, however long it takes to get that money, so she can buy the village. So Genzo doesn't understand this at first, but this is Nami's way of honoring Belle-Mère and her way of living and fighting. By surviving, she's fighting, she's keeping that going. She's not giving up here. She's gonna, she's gonna work hard for however long she needs to get that money so she can save her village.
I wish her the best of luck, but it's gonna be a long road ahead of her, as we see.
Very noble for such a young kid.
It feels almost like an I don't know. As I'm saying this, I'm like I'm stretching here, but like it's a kind of way of the same. It's like the inverse of. She picked the pragmatic choice when Belle-Mère picked the empathetic, pure love choice. Nami's like, I'm gonna pick the dirty option, which in Belle-Mère's case would have been, they're not my daughters. Yeah, no, I have no kids. Yeah, whatever. To earn some scorn, perhaps a momentary scorn or a pain in Nami's heart if she had heard that, to later earn the ability to protect them or whatever. And in Nami's case is, I'm stretching this metaphor, Joel. I don't know.
No, I'm right there with you.
Where she's like, I'm going to take on I understand the village, or she realizes very quickly how much the village is going to hate her for this, but in the long term, they'll get it. It'll make sense. And so this is just as awful as the results of Belle-Mère's noble, valorous choices. Now we see the awful results of Nami's pragmatic choice. So
yeah, and she basically says it herself, because she says, like, Belle-Mère would try to live a decent life.
Yeah,
and got her killed. So I'm not gonna make that same mistake. So Nami sees it differently. So she's perceiving Belle-Mère's like wishes in a different way and living for her. But yeah, she's also taking a different approach than maybe Belle-Mère would have. I also wanted to just kind of point out a little bit more of a lighthearted moment where at the beginning, where we see even younger how the kids get into a fight with Nami, and then Nami says that they're saying that she tells Belle-Mère that the kids were saying that the tangerines taste bad. So then Belle-Mère also goes and beats up the kids.
It's so
What? Why you rotten a little?
Has anyone here seen Always Sunny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the scene I'm referencing?
You have to remind me.
There's the scene where Mac and Charlie just go and beat up the teenagers brutally,
Oh.
and just like, wait a second, these bullies, like they're the sons of one of their old bullies, and they're like 13, 14-year-olds, and they're like 30, 40 something year old dudes, and they just brutally beat these teenagers up. And it's like, it's exaggeration, but it's just funny to me. Belle-Mère seems like the kind of person like, what you rotten little shit, I'm gonna kick your ass. It's great.
Yeah, so I thought that was a great moment.
Agreed.
All right, so how about we move along to chapter 80? A thief is a thief. Back in the present, Nojiko goes on to tell the crew that Nami fights on alone, so nobody else gets hurt, just like Belle-Mère, that she chooses to live on. Now understanding Nami's circumstances, Usopp and Sanji want to help, though Nojiko says that if they do, it will undo what Nami has been working towards. Back at the house, Nami reflects back on how much she has worked to collect the money for the village, hiding it away in the tangerine orchard bit by bit. She can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Genzo escorts Navy Captain Nezumi to Nami's house, wondering what he wants with the girl. Nezumi sees Nami, asking if she's the thief. She admits that she's a criminal who works for Arlong, so he should know that she's protected by him. He tells her she won't be harmed, but he was tipped off that money that she had stolen was stolen from other pirates and must be returned to their original owners. He's here to collect. He sends the men to search her property for the treasure, but she tries to fight them off. She calls him out for targeting her while Arlong continues to kill, loot, and enslave the villagers. As they start to search the orchard, things begin to escalate. Genzo tells them that they have no right to seize the treasure and that Nami is going to save the village with it. Nami is surprised to learn that he knew. He admits that the people in the village didn't want her to feel the pressure of everyone counting on her. Nojiko arrives as well, shouting at the Navy to leave if they aren't going to help, otherwise Arlong will sink their ships. Izumi makes it clear that Izumi makes it clear that this won't be an issue. Nami comes to the shocking revelation that Arlong was behind this, even though Nezumi denies it. Izumi orders the men to shoot to keep them at bay, causing Nojiko to be shot. Nami and Genzo escort her into town to be tended to, where Luffy happens to be nearby. Luffy comes over to see how he can help, but Nami shouts at him to leave and runs off to confront Arlong. Nami yells at Arlong for going back on their deal, but he laughs her off, denying that he did anything to break the agreement. So we go from one gut punch to another.
For sure. I mean, I think as a kid, I saw this coming too as like, there's no way it's this simple. Like, yeah, it took her a long time, but it's still such a simple solution to her problems. Like, Arlong's way too sadistic for that.
Yeah. Two-faced.
Like, what does he really need with this money? If he wanted money, he could like go raid a dozen ships off the coast if he wanted and do it easily, probably. Like some fat merchant ships from the East Blue. Like, so the money isn't really the thing. It's Nami's skill and the cushiness of the village is what he always wanted. So she's never going anywhere.
Yeah, it's just his way of maintaining control and exerting that control over Nami.
Though the fact that he just won't even own up to it when he's doing this, like, you think he'd have at least the villain. No, you wouldn't think that. What am I kidding? Like, but it's just so like, just fucking like, yeah, I'm an evil bastard. He's like, no, I didn't break my promise technically. It's like, fuck, shut up, you asshole.
He's trying to maintain that plausible deniability.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
But
it's also in character entirely for him.
Yeah, it's just so underhanded of him to pull this off. Like he seems like he had this in his back pocket, ready to go. I think it might have been as soon as he found out that the map led to her treasure that was revealed a few chapters ago. But this is something that he would do because I think the reason why he respects Nami is because he finds value in her map making skills, not because like he likes her as a person so much. But I think he's been kind of like playing up a little bit to stay on her good side because he values her skills. But I think he realizes that this is the point where Nami is close to the goal, and it might be time to do like a reset here, and set get back to ground zero, so that way you can keep Nami around a little bit longer.
Yeah. I love there's a panel of Luffy like, hey, what's going on, Nami? Can I help? And he just looks so happy. He's literally like,
Oblivious.
like while Nojiko's like in pain on the ground bleeding, and he's just like, what's going on, dudes? Like,
now's not a good time, Luffy. Read the room.
Read the room.
Anyone want to go get some meat? Like, let's go. It's just so good. Yeah. What a mess.
How about you, Evan?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
No, that's all.
Yeah. How about you, Evan?
At the beginning of this chapter, we still got a couple flashbacks, and then Nami says, I'll finally, or like, sorry, she says, like, we'll finally be free, and do right by Belle-Mère. And then she says, I'll finally be able to laugh from my heart.
Yeah.
And that panel got to me for some reason. I was just like, oh, wow.
Yeah, she doesn't realize what's about to happen. And yeah, she's starting to feel like that weight lifting a little bit. She's kind of letting herself kind of feel that. So it's like really gut wrenching.
It's such a gut wrenching moment right before it kind of gets like taken from her. Almost immediately after that, when they come for her treasure, which is like something that she's been accumulating over 8 years and taking on the burden of the whole village to set everyone free and like do right by her mom and her sister and her village. And yeah,
for sure.
Hard to watch, like hard to see, hard to read.
I'm waiting for some happy times again, but I think we are a fair bit away.
Yeah, there is also like that desperation, like from Nami, Genzo, and Nojiko, who all realize like the gravity of the situation. They didn't want Nami to feel that burden and want her to know that they all were kind of counting on her. But there's no way that they can deny that they were hoping that she would come through for them.
Right.
So now they're watching the Navy, who is supposed to be the people to help them. They're the ones that come in, and also they're just feeding into like the Arlong machine here,
right,
and keeping this going. And they get called out for not helping the people that they should be helping instead of Arlong. So yeah, they fight back out of desperation. Even Arlong's protection isn't applying to Nami here, which she thinks she has like immunity, without realizing that Arlong is the one who is behind this. So Arlong's one to blame, and this was his intention.
Good for nothing pirate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why Nami hates pirates.
Maybe.
All right. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up with the last chapter?
No, but this last chapter is so good.
Yeah, this is a good one to end.
So good. All right, let's get into it.
Chapter 81, Tears. Over on the Navy ship, Nezumi celebrates a score of 93 million berries at Nami's expense. Meanwhile, Arlong tells Nami that it's unfortunate the Navy happened to find her money, but she can't buy the village until she has enough money. A deal's a deal. It's no problem, though. She can just do it again. The villagers in Cocoa Village begin preparing to fight Arlong, knowing that their best chance of freedom was just taken from them. Nami arrives just in time to try to stop them. She tells them to give her another chance, as she doesn't want them throwing their lives away after all the work she did to try to protect them. Genzo hugs Nami, telling her that she's fought long enough. He tells her to leave and to have her own life. Not accepting this as an option, she again tells everyone to stand down. They ignore her plea and decide to march on, leaving her behind. Out of complete frustration, she breaks down as she grabs her knife, then begins to stab away at her at her arm at the Arlong mark tattoo on her shoulder. Silently, Luffy grabs her arm to stop her. She tells Luffy this has nothing to do with him and to leave. Realizing Luffy isn't going anywhere, out of desperation, she finally asks for him to help. He takes his most treasured possession and places his hat on her head. With a deep breath, he shouts, "Okay!" Recognizing the significance of handing over his hat to her, she puts her faith in Luffy. Luffy gathers with the other members of his crew as they make their way for Arlong Park. Turns out Johnny and Yosaku found out the truth about Nami and tried to take on the fishmen themselves, with little success. They stand by to guard the gate in order to prevent the townspeople from bursting in and throwing their lives away. After all, that's Luffy's job. Luffy arrives, bursting open the gates to Arlong Park, asking which one of them is Arlong.
Okay.
Joel, I'm loving your summaries, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
So good.
Yeah, I tried to get the key details.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a lot of amazing moments in this chapter.
This chapter may have arguably top 5 most iconic moments in One Piece.
Oh.
I mean, there's like 3 of them in a row. Both Nami stabbing the tattoo, Nami asking Luffy for help, and Luffy putting the hat on it. It's just one after another. Like, these are all-time moments. And I'm talking all-time moments. They are referenced today. They are pointed out by fans today. They are famous today. Like, it is ridiculous.
That's good to hear for this being like the first time I was reading through it, because I was reading through this chapter and I was like jumping up and down because I was like, I was getting so pumped up. I mean, the moment where like, Nami's literally trying to like cut this tattoo off of herself, and Luffy kind of like subtly comes over and stops her, and that entire moment, and then this moment of like the help, and she asks him for help. And he's like, let's go. And then he like looks over at the crew and he's like, let's do this. And they're all like striking this like fucking
just album cover pose.
Album cover. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. So like, they're about to drop the hottest album in the East Blue.
Yes. Like Doom. Like
triple platinum right here, man. Like,
this is what we've been waiting for. And this is like the moment that's been building to. Like, we've been waiting for the crew to step in.
Yes.
And Nami finally gets to that point where she's willing to admit that she needs help and to ask her friends to help her out. And that's basically what they've been waiting for too. Luffy's been waiting around for Nami to come around.
Yes.
So like you guys are saying, like iconic moments just overall. Like Nami stabbing her shoulder, her crying, Luffy taking his hat and putting it on Nami's head. That says a lot. So like this whole thing is just like pitch perfect because like Luffy recognizes that like Nami's hurting. He comes over. He doesn't say anything. He just stops her from stabbing herself. And he says he doesn't know what's going on, but he just knows that Nami needs help, so he's here for her. So he doesn't need to know like all the circumstances, like what the deal is. He's just here to help her. And then she's able to admit that, and then like the hat. She saw firsthand how Luffy reacted when the hat got stabbed by Buggy, and she knows that this is his treasure. This is one of the most important things in the world to him, and he just gives it to her.
Yeah,
he trusts her with this hat.
The payoff in this chapter is incredible, and the face that Luffy makes right there, I think it's probably the face I was making while reading this chapter. I was just like,
that puts Usopp to shame. Like it's crazy. Like
between the backstory and Arlong's double crossing, like I feel like I was just so hyped for this moment for the gang to be like, all right, let's do something about this. Like, let's support Nami and kick some ass. And like, I'm so pumped for what comes next.
And you haven't 100%. Read what comes next. You've stopped right here. You don't know what comes next.
No, this is as far as I've gotten.
Right. Oh my God, you were in for it.
I know. And I've been reading for a couple weeks, and it's making me really anxious.
Yeah, I get what you mean now a bit more.
Right?
I'm going back here to literally chapter. Oh, come on, Shonen Jump app, chapter 9, and like volume 2 or volume 1 or whatever, volume 2.
It'll be volume 2. Yeah.
Why'd you get so mad when that guy touched your hat? It's just they just lay this like Anami's first meeting with him of just being like, and it just, you take that moment to now and the level of it you understand exactly what that, like, the gesture of what Luffy's doing here is just so intense. More intense than anything he's ever done, more intense than any punch he's ever thrown or gum fist he's ever launched. Yeah, it's like this is him fully committing to someone and being like, "Yep, I'm gonna do what's that? You need help? On it. On it."
Yeah.
Like it's just like
So good. Like you said, they're like, he doesn't need words in that
Right.
moment. Like the gesture of putting the hat on her head spoke it spoke more than anything he could have possibly said in that moment.
Right.
And she also there's like a little frame that of her picking up on that and saying, like, remembering how much he's happened to him.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the shot of the rest of the gang being like, "Yep,
yep,
we hear you loud and clear. Let's go."
Yeah.
Like
we've just been waiting for the word. We've
Yep.
just been sitting here like I'm gonna go like I probably shouldn't, but I'm gonna go reread the next 6 chapters myself because I want to, because I've already read them.
Yeah.
Because just I want to re-experience it again because I'm so pumped for it again, even though I've read this 1,000 times. But let's just like, I'm just gonna say, like, what comes next is every bit as good as you hoped it would be. Like it's just
that's so good to hear.
I
I was so like I said, so hyped by the end of this chapter. I think this chapter was probably one of the most exciting chapters to date. Like
I think so.
I was like making a Luffy face, you know, just going like, I was so pumped up. I am so pumped up.
For sure, no doubt.
Yeah, and then
which one is Arlong?
Yeah, exactly. So
calling him out, like, let's go.
Yeah, Luffy just punching the gates open.
Yeah.
Like, he means business, and like, yeah, he's ready to throw down.
Cut straight to the chase.
Yeah, I love how Johnny and Yosaku kind of held the fort down, and like kept the villagers at bay, being like, no, like the cavalry is about to arrive, just hold out, help is on the way.
Yes.
And Arlong's just like, who are you? Like, not knowing who's gonna mess with here.
Oh, so excited. So excited.
Yeah, and this is like the first time it feels like Luffy isn't present for a while now. For most of this arc, he's been very passive and pretty much a bystander. So this arc very much does not feel like Luffy's story. And I think it's very clearly Nami's story, but like Luffy has been kind of like out of the picture and he hasn't really done anything for a while. So now he's back in the picture and we can see how that's going to unfold.
And I think that's very on character for him, like seeing how all of the previous crewmates have kind of gotten involved with him. I feel like he very much like waits for the right time to like make his entrance or play any kind of role in someone else's story. You know, I feel like that's happened so far with all of the crewmates that have joined him. He's kind of like sat on the sidelines and kind of gauged that person and tries to read that person and like waits for the right moment to not steal their spotlight, but like when he's needed, he steps in.
Yeah.
You know, he kind of like, it's not like, I guess not judging, but kind of assessing that person until he's like, all right, now is an appropriate time to step in and offer, you know, my abilities or whatever.
Yeah.
For all his demonstrated lack, I think I've mentioned this vaguely once before, I don't know, but his lack of book smart intelligence, Luffy is surprisingly emotionally intelligent, I feel.
Yeah.
I would agree.
He can sense other people's inner like turmoil or happiness or something and like follow through on that. in the way he feels he needs to. Like, I'm not gonna force Sanji to join the crew. Like, I'd like him to join the crew, but I'm not gonna force him. No, he needs to make that decision on himself. Like, and then Nami, like, he knows what she needs right now, and she needs a helping hand. And like, he'll then turn around and be like, "What's this encyclopedia? I don't know." Puts it on his head like a hat and draws a picture of a fish like screaming at a rock band. Like, he'll do just some nonsense bullshit, but then he'll also know exactly how to help his crewmate. So it's this weird mixture of complete fucking moron and complete deep-hearted, bleeding heart individual. Like, it's great.
Yeah, and he has some clear strengths and weaknesses, and I think he really plays into his strengths, and he knows how to use them effectively. And kind of go back to Evan's point, even like in the Barate arc, like he kind of stood by for a little bit. He didn't go fight Krieg right away, so he kind of was like assessing the situation. He saw like the fights going on with the cooks and stuff. He saw that they were fighting, and like Sanji was fighting, and he was kind of like taking like a back seat for a little bit. So he did eventually step in, but it wasn't a right away kind of thing.
He's a great judge of character.
For sure. Yeah, that's one of his strengths, I think.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes him such a great captain. Yeah. And he's building this incredible crew because he's a great judge of character, and he's able to... I feel like so far with all characters, almost on his introduction to somebody or his first impression of someone, he's pretty much like, "Yep, you're going to be my crew." Like, I feel like so far he's been able to make that judgment or that assessment like immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, and he has that conviction too, because he never doubted Nami. He didn't back down on Nami. Like, he wasn't like, "Oh, no, let's go find another navigator that didn't steal our ship."
Right.
He knew that like Nami was going to be the navigator, and he stuck with her. And he knows that this is a fight worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Man, I wish Luffy was my captain. He just motivates me on like, I gotta get to work, Luffy. I don't know if I could get it. You got this, buddy. Here, take my hat. Like, you can power through those orders today.
I'll punch your boss if you want me to.
Yeah, maybe. Can you punch this customer who's asking about blenders? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think that this has probably been my favorite volume so far. Like, this whole volume has been very strong throughout, and like some of the most iconic moments in the series have been in this volume. So overall, this volume I think is just even takes the series like another level. Like, as great as everything was before, I think this is where it feels like things just leveled up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've never been as hyped as I am right now. Like, by the end of this chapter, I'm so pumped. I'm like so ready for more. I think maybe the Mihawk battle is like second most hyped moment for me so far.
Yeah, that's a highlight
this
too.
Definitely is number one. Like, I was literally, I think, jumping up and down, and like, I was so pumped up.
All right. So, any closing thoughts on the volume as a whole?
A+, S+. This is One Piece at its best. Yeah.
Agreed. I can't wait for what's to come.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to experience it for the first time. So, stay tuned. But on that note, we are going to be taking a break for a few weeks. With the upcoming holidays. We're gonna be traveling for the holidays, so we won't have a new episode for a few weeks, but we should be back for January 16th. So we will have a new episode then for episode 10, where we can continue this epic journey. So we're going to leave it on a high note, and we'll pick it up there.
The cliffhanger. Oh, this is going to be hard. It's going to be a hard holiday for me.
Definitely, yeah. But you do have the anime if you want to go experience that.
Do I have your approval to finally?
Yeah, I would say you've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, there's like one very brief character, but you don't. I think you'll be okay. So
all right.
Yeah, I think you're safe to get through the anime now. Up to this
It'll hold
point.
me over.
Yeah, and then you can come back and compare your your experience with that and see how that matches up to the manga.
Awesome.
All right. So on that note, that will conclude this week's episode of the We Are Reading One Piece podcast. You can find this episode wherever podcasts are found at We Are Reading One Piece podcast.buzzsprout.com or on our YouTube channel at We Are Reading One Piece. This is a spoiler-free channel up to where we have recorded this podcast so far. So if you're new to the series, you can visit the channel there. You can also find me and this podcast on my YouTube channel at Pirate King Codex for various One Piece content. So I am still focusing on the One Piece card game. We did have a recent event in Japan for one of the major qualifiers. So we have results from that tournament. So I just actually posted about that. So by the time you see this podcast, that video will probably be a few weeks old now. So, but anyway, I've been Joel, and I have been joined by Sean.
Have a good night, folks, or week, holidays.
And Evan.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays.
All right. Thank you for listening. And as always, be sure to bring along all of your hopes and dreams, and we'll see you on the next episode.